I never thought I'd be the kind of person to tell my story to the internet. I'm not usually the share my emotions with strangers type, but there's something about this story that feels almost poetic. Painful, yes, but poetic. For context, my name is Ethan. I was 25 when all of this started. Back then, I was just a guy trying to figure out life, juggling two jobs, saving money wherever I could, and dreaming about the future. And in those dreams, there was always Sarah. Sarah and I had been dating for nearly 3 years. She was beautiful, confident, the kind of woman who walked into a room and made heads turn. When I was with her, I felt lucky, like I had somehow won a lottery I didn't even buy a ticket for. We weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. We talked about moving in together. She even joked once about baby names when we saw a cute toddler at the park. I took all of that as a sign that we were moving in the same direction. But then came the night that shattered everything. It was a Thursday evening. We were curled up on her couch, Netflix playing in the background, when I decided to ask her a question that had been on my mind. So, I began carefully, "Do you ever think about us having kids one day?" Sarah's eyes flicked to me, and for a moment, she just stared. Then, out of nowhere, she laughed. Not the warm kind of laugh, but the sharp, dismissive kind. "You?" she said, shaking her head. "Ethan, you'll never be a father." At first I thought she was joking. I chuckled nervously. "What do you mean?" Her expression didn't change. If anything, it grew colder. "I mean exactly what I said. I don't see you as a father. You're not that type. You don't make enough money. You're too soft. You're still figuring things out. A real father is strong, stable, secure. You're not there. And honestly, I don't think you ever will be." Her words hit me like a sucker punch. "Sarah, that's not fair," I said quietly. "I'm working hard. I'm saving. I'm trying." She cut me off with a wave of her hand. "Trying isn't enough. I want someone who already has it together. I can't waste my life waiting around for you to figure yourself out." There it was, plain, brutal, final. I sat there in silence, feeling smaller with every passing second. My heart was racing, but my body felt numb. After that night, our relationship unraveled fast. She grew distant, stopped replying to my messages, canceled plans with flimsy excuses. Within a few months, she ended things for good. Her reason? "I've found someone who matches my vision of the future." I'll never forget the way she said it. Calm, confident, like she was doing me a favor. Not long after, I heard through mutual friends that she was dating a new guy. And then came the announcement she was pregnant. I can't describe the mix of emotions I felt. Anger, humiliation, but most of all, emptiness. Her words replayed in my head every night like a broken record. "You'll never be a father." For months, I was a shell of myself. I worked, I ate, I slept. That was it. No joy, no purpose. But slowly something shifted. Maybe it was pride, maybe survival instinct, but I refused to let her words define me. I worked harder, took on extra shifts. My small side hustle, fixing up old electronics and reselling them, started to grow. Within a year, I had turned it into an actual business. I hit the gym too. Not for anyone else, but because I needed to feel strong again. By the time a year had passed, I was different, more confident, more stable, still carrying scars, but no longer broken. And then, just when I thought I had left Sarah behind for good, fate threw her back into my life. I was at the mall one Saturday afternoon, shopping for a suit for a friend's wedding. I had just stepped out of a store when I heard a voice I hadn't heard in a year. "Ethan?" I froze. Slowly, I turned around. There she was, Sarah. She looked different, tired, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. In her arms was a baby boy, maybe 6 or 7 months old. And standing next to her was a man I assumed was her husband, glued to his phone, not even glancing up. My stomach twisted. We made awkward small talk. She asked how I'd been. I kept my answers short. The baby began to cry, loud and relentless. Sarah rocked him gently, bouncing him up and down, but it wasn't working. Her husband didn't move an inch. He just muttered, "Handle it," and went back to scrolling. I don't know what came over me, but I said, "Want me to try?" Sarah hesitated, then handed me the baby. And the strangest thing happened. The second he was in my arms, he stopped crying. Completely. He looked up at me with these big, curious eyes, grabbed a fistful of my shirt, and snuggled against my chest. I froze. My heart pounded. I don't know how to explain it, but something in me cracked open in that moment. When I finally handed him back, Sarah stared at me with an expression I'll never forget. Regret. A week later, I got a text from an unknown number. Thanks again for helping at the mall. Lucas really liked you. Lucas. That was the baby's name. I didn't know what to say, so I just typed back, anytime. But it didn't end there. The next day. How have you been? Then, congrats on your promotion, I saw it on LinkedIn. And eventually, he hasn't stopped fussing all day. Sometimes I feel like I'm raising him alone. The messages became more personal, more vulnerable. She admitted her marriage wasn't what she had expected. Her husband was distant, dismissive, sometimes cruel. He never helped with Lucas. Some nights he didn't even come home. I told myself not to get involved, that it wasn't my business. But then came the text that broke me. Would you mind coming by? Lucas won't stop crying. And he calmed down with you that day. I stared at my phone for a long time. I should have said no, but I didn't. When I showed up at Sarah's apartment, I wasn't sure what to expect. My chest was tight, my palms sweaty like I was walking into some kind of trap. She opened the door, her hair messy, dark circles under her eyes. "Thank you for coming," she whispered. Lucas was in her arms, red-faced and screaming. She handed him to me almost immediately, like I was her last hope. And once again, silence. He stopped crying the second he was against my chest. His tiny hand reached up, brushed against my chin, and I swear I felt something inside me shift again. Sarah looked at me like she was seeing a ghost, or maybe a mistake she could never take back. One visit turned into two. Two became three. Before I realized it, I was stopping by every week. Sometimes to babysit for an hour so Sarah could shower or nap. Sometimes just to play with Lucas while she cooked dinner. Her husband was rarely around. And even when he was, he acted more like a guest than a father. He ignored Lucas, ignored Sarah, ignored me. I started noticing things, little things. The way Lucas lit up when he saw me. The way he stretched his arms toward me whenever I walked through the door. The way Sarah relaxed when I was around, like the weight of the world wasn't just on her shoulders anymore. I told myself I was just helping, just being a decent human being. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. One night, after Lucas had fallen asleep, Sarah and I sat in the living room, sipping tea. The glow of the baby monitor was the only light in the room. "Ethan," she said softly, "you're so good with him. Better than anyone." I didn't reply. She looked down, twisting her hands. Sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice. My heart clenched. Part of me wanted to say, "No, you didn't. You threw me away for someone who doesn't care about you or your child." But I bit my tongue. Instead, I said, "What matters now is Lucas. He needs you to be strong." She gave me this look, half admiration, half sorrow. "You would have been an amazing father, Ethan." The irony burned. Over the next months, Lucas grew. Crawling turned into walking. Babbling turned into little words. And with every milestone, I was there, sometimes even before his own father. "Da," he said one afternoon, tugging on my pant leg. I froze. Sarah's eyes widened. He meant his father," she said quickly, almost defensively. But Lucas kept repeating it, looking right at me. "Da." Da. My throat closed. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or run. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words from a year ago replayed in my head. "You'll never be a father." And yet, here was her son, calling me. It couldn't last forever. Her husband eventually noticed. One evening, I was at the apartment when he came home unexpectedly early. Lucas was in my arms, giggling as I bounced him gently. "What the hell is this?" her husband barked. Sarah jumped up. "He was just helping." "With what? Replacing me?" His eyes narrowed. "Because from where I'm standing, that's exactly what it looks like." Lucas started crying from the yelling. I tried to calm him, but the man stormed over and yanked him from my arms. "Don't touch my son again," he growled. Lucas screamed harder, and the look on his little face, pure terror, broke me in ways I can't describe. Sarah pulled him back, snapping, "Stop! You're scaring him!" The man glared at both of us, then stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Sarah collapsed onto the couch, holding Lucas tightly. Tears streamed down her face. "I don't know how much longer I can do this," she whispered. I sat beside her, my chest aching. But I didn't have answers. Weeks passed. Her husband became more absent, sometimes disappearing for days. Sarah leaned on me more and more, and Lucas adored me. When I entered the room, he lit up. When I left, he cried. When he took his first steps, it was toward me. I found myself rearranging my life around him, canceling plans, shifting my business schedule just to be there. And every time Sarah saw him cling to me, her eyes filled with something I couldn't quite read. Regret, longing, maybe both. One quiet evening, after Lucas was asleep, Sarah and I sat on the balcony. She poured herself a glass of wine, offered me one too. "I don't know how I ended up here," she said softly, staring into the night. "Married to a man who doesn't care, raising a child practically alone. And then you walk back into my life like some cruel reminder of what I threw away." I stayed silent, unsure where she was going. She turned to me, eyes glistening. "Ethan, I was wrong. About you, about everything. You are a father, more than he'll ever be." For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then she leaned closer, her lips brushing mine. I pulled back. My chest was tight, my heart racing. "Sarah, no, this isn't right." Tears welled in her eyes. "I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing anymore." She stood abruptly and went inside, leaving me alone on the balcony. That night, lying in bed, I thought about everything. The past, the present, the little boy who called me Dada. Sarah had once told me I'd never be a father, but now, in every way that mattered, I was one. Not biologically, not legally, but emotionally. And I had to decide. Would I keep being part of this child's life, even if it meant entangling myself with Sarah again? Or would I step back, protect my heart, and let Lucas grow up without me? The choice felt impossible. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. Sarah called me, her voice trembling. "Can you come? Please, it's bad." When I arrived, I found her husband raging, shouting about money, about how Lucas wasn't even worth the trouble. His words were slurred. He was drunk. Lucas was wailing in the corner. Sarah stood between them, shaking. Something inside me snapped. I stepped between them, my voice calm but firm. "That's enough." The man sneered at me. "What are you, his dad now?" And then Lucas cried out through his sobs, "Dada!" reaching for me. The room went silent. Sarah covered her mouth with her hands, tears streaming. Her husband's face twisted with rage. But for once, I didn't feel fear. I felt clarity. I picked Lucas up, held him close, and whispered, "I've got you, buddy. I've got you." In that moment, I realized Sarah was wrong. I wasn't just capable of being a father. I already was one. That night changed everything. Sarah's husband packed a bag and left. No apology, no attempt to fix things, just slammed the door and disappeared into the night. Sarah filed for separation a week later. She didn't even try to fight for the marriage anymore. She was done. In the weeks that followed, I became even more present, driving Sarah to appointments, helping with groceries, reading bedtime stories to Lucas. At first, I told myself it was temporary, that I was just filling the gap until she got back on her feet. But the truth was undeniable. Lucas wasn't just some kid I was helping with. He was my kid. Not by blood, but in every way that mattered. Of course, people noticed. Friends whispered behind my back, "Isn't it weird, helping your ex raise her son?" Even my mom sat me down one evening. "Ethan," she said gently, "are you sure about this? You're young. You could meet someone else. Start fresh." I understood their concern. But when Lucas climbed into my lap and giggled as I made silly faces, none of that mattered. He needed me. And maybe, just maybe, I needed him even more. The moment that sealed it came on Father's Day. Sarah handed Lucas a little crayon-colored card, On the front, in messy letters, it said, To Dada. I laughed nervously. This is for your dad, buddy. But Lucas shook his head, pressed the card into my hands, and said, No. For you, I felt my throat close up. Tears blurred my vision. I pulled him into my arms and whispered, Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Sarah watched from across the room, her eyes shining with something between sadness and relief. Later that night, when Lucas was asleep, she said quietly, You know he sees you as his father, right? That's not going to change. I swallowed hard. And you? What do you see me as? She looked down, then back up at me. The man I should have chosen. It would be easy to say I forgave her instantly, but I didn't. Her words from the past still haunted me. You'll never be a father. They echoed in my mind every time I held Lucas, every time I tucked him in. But I realized something. She was wrong, and clinging to that bitterness only gave her power over me. So one night, I told her, Sarah, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because Lucas deserves the best version of me. And that version isn't stuck in the past. She cried, and for the first time in years, so did I. It's been 3 years since that night at the mall, when Lucas first grabbed my shirt and stopped crying in my arms. Sarah and I never officially got back together, at least not in the traditional sense. We're complicated. Some days we feel like a family. Other days we're just co-parents who happen to share a history. But Lucas, he's my son. Period. He runs to me after school yelling, Dad! He brags about me to his friends. He even insists I'm the one who makes the best pancakes, even though Sarah disagrees. And the funny thing, the man Sarah married, the one she thought was father material, hasn't so much as sent Lucas a birthday card. Not once. Sometimes life doesn't give you what you think you want. Sometimes it gives you something better, hidden inside heartbreak, wrapped in pain. Sarah once told me I'd never be a father. She was wrong. Because today when a little boy calls me dad and means it with every fiber of his being, I know the truth. I'm not just a father, I'm his father. And no one can ever take that away from me.